Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.29. In this video I'm just going to give you my quick first impressions of each of the brand new cars. There is 5 of them, well essentially 4 models, and then one of the models has essentially 2 variants to it. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of each of the cars, what my opinion is, and if they're worth your time and your money within Gran Turismo 7. So let's get into it. So the first car we're going to be talking about is the one that you're seeing on screen, the Honda RA272 from 1965. It costs around about 2.6 million, I believe, from the legendary car dealership. It was one of those that I picked up straight away because I absolutely love the idea behind this one, and it's definitely one for VR. Now, in terms of this car, I've tried it in both single player and in multiplayer lobbies with friends, and we all seem to absolutely love it. The detail in this car is absolutely incredible. Watching everything work, and the onboard view is just absolutely immense. It is a really cool car, and definitely up there as one of the more detailed cars within this game. Like literally Polyphony have left nothing on the table here. They've absolutely gone full strength in terms of the look of it, the feel of it. It's just an absolutely amazing car and very much worth your time. It is a little bit expensive, and I won't say it's probably the most useful car in the game, but if you want something where you can sit back and appreciate the detail that goes into these car models, then this is definitely one of them. And I think it's cars like this, in my opinion, that really allow you to appreciate the small details that goes into these models. Whether it's just running on a bit of sand and getting the half the tires dirty, watching all the dials work and watching it on board, or just watching everything at the back all ticking over as you're absolutely hooning this car around the tracks. It's an incredible experience, and I would definitely say this is going to be one for VR. So if you are in the space of getting PSVR 2 like myself, I would say this is probably going to be one of the more standout cars. So this for me is a top tier car. Whilst it doesn't necessarily have the most uses in the game, there is rumours going around that this at 700 pp is an absolute machine at Le Mans, so there may be a use for it there. I haven't yet tested that. I may do a build on it if I can get it running and working as I like, but yeah, absolutely amazing machine, top tier. Don't skip this one. Up next, we have one of the 2 versions of the Ital Design VGT, this one being the off-road version. Now, I wasn't expecting much from any of these cars, but in all honesty, when I jumped in and tried them out, they were a barrel of laughs. So the off-road version is basically a 4x4 thing with over 1,000 brake horsepower. It's absolutely incredible. It's so bizarre. No, it is not the most useful. I genuinely think this thing has far too much power, and in all honesty, I'm not the biggest fan of GT7's rally or dirt physics, but just for a complete laugh and some of the most ridiculous racing you've ever seen on dirt, this is definitely up there. The only downside to this car, as you can see there, is that it doesn't have a interior view. In fact, it has no detail inside of it, so I don't know how this kind of car will work when it comes to VR, so it's definitely not one of those cars. But in terms of just having fun and absolutely hooning about on the dirt, this is right up there. In all honesty, if you put a full grid on, like you can see here, we've got 20 cars with the Scudos and obviously the Ital Designs VGTs. Just going about it is absolutely incredible to just watch the AI completely throw themselves in the barrier, and more than likely you will join them too. Oh, and it makes an absolutely great sound. Have a listen to this. I was expecting this one to sound a bit like a spaceship, but in all honesty, it sounds absolutely incredible, and the street version is exactly the same. So talking about the street version, let's go and head over there and take a little look at that one. So yes, this is the second version, the street version, so it's basically meant to go on the road, whereas the other one's meant for the dirt. This does have a little bit more power. I believe this is putting out something like 1,200 brake horsepower or something ridiculous like that. And again, it doesn't really seem like the most usable car in terms of, actually trying to drive the thing. but it is absolutely bizarre to just throw it around. It has plenty of grip. You can really get this thing sideways and drift it. And again, there is another rumour between both of these cars that I believe the dirt version is very good for the 700 pp at Le Mans. In fact, it's stupidly good. So supposedly it has really good fuel, it has really good power, and hits some ridiculous speed. So I'll definitely be checking out both the Honda and the Ital Design off-road one. But in terms of the street version, it's pretty much the same thing, just with added horsepower, a lot more grip on terms of the the street surfaces or the racing track surface, and it is just overall a better car to drive. It's less, I guess, stupid, to be quite honest, but yeah, very decent car, bit of fun, but nothing really more than that. In terms of getting those builds going, obviously if I do look into them, then maybe they'll be a bit more useful. I've seen a lot of people commenting about the Honda and the Ital Design being very good for grinding, so if they are that good, I will do them. But overall, from first impressions, I cannot sit there and say they're the most usable cars. They're not really that sensible, and they seem to me just a bit more like a meme car than anything. But yeah, you're definitely a whole heap of fun. Up next, we have probably the car that most people won't use or may just overlook within this update, the Citroen DS21 Palace. Now, I have a bit of a personal relationship with this car, mainly because my granddad used to sit there telling me stories about this thing all the time, how he got one when they were pretty much new, and within a few days, the hydraulics and the suspension completely collapsed in on itself, and after that, he pretty much could not get the thing running again, and it was bye-bye Citroen. So, I've been told that story many times over the years before. He sadly passed away in 2020, so definitely awesome to see this car in game, and I really do appreciate seeing it. But what is it like to actually drive? In all honesty, I was not expecting much, and yes, it is an absolute slow machine, but the detail in this thing is incredible. So as you can see, the gear changes is all done on the steering wheel, and in all honesty, to drive it and throw it through the corners with that hydraulic suspension really is a certain weird feeling. It's actually quite fun. And I think that's the main thing about this car. I actually found myself having a whole heap of fun. Again, this is another one that I've tried in both single player and in multiplayer lobbies with friends. In fact, we started completely messing around at the new Grand Valley Highway 1 last night, basically throwing about 10 to 12 Citroen DS21s around the track just for a complete laugh, and it was an absolute hoot. It was a really enjoyable time. So although it's kind of like the usual, a bit of a meme car where most people are just going to come up with some ridiculous build for it, I'd say just buying this thing for around about the 40,000 credits it asks for in the legendary dealership is definitely worth your time, because it really is a bit of an experience. Once you learn to throw this thing in its skinny tyres through the corners, it really does get a nice little flow with it, which is something I noticed very early on from the event at Laguna Seca, where I used it in single player. It definitely does feel like a bit of a different drive to anything else in terms of like the very slow cars within GT7. Through the corkscrew, it was an absolute laugh. And then definitely on Highway 1, when it came to just absolutely ramming into each other, it was a massively fun experience. So yes, I would say this car's worth your time. Next up, and finally from this update, I guess, is the Porsche Carrera RS. In my opinion, one of the most beautiful Porsches ever made, and it does not disappoint within GT7. Another car again that I've tested in both single player and within multiplayer lobbies with friends, and again, it's an absolute hoot to drive. One of my favourite things to do is take it around the new Grand Valley and pretty much just drift it through the valley. Really, it's absolutely amazing. It handles really, really well, and whilst the kind of spinning point for it, where it's just going to snap on you, is quite on the limit. You won't really find it until you end up basically turning yourself around. The way you can get the rear end out on this thing and actually maintain your slides and such is an absolute joy. It really does feel like a typical classic Porsche and drives the exact way you want it to. I could definitely see some tuning potential with this car. I just think the way it looks and the fact that it's the RS version and the Carrera badge and all that good stuff really does give me hope that this will have an amazing build for it, maybe the 600 events or the 700 events. So there is that potential there. It's a bit pricey. I believe it's around about 700,000 credits, which just seems absolutely bizarre, but in terms of the raw driving experience, it's an absolutely great time, and I cannot complain about this car. If you do have the spare credits, I just recommend picking it up and just having fun with it. As you can see, the way the thing slides through corners is just absolutely amazing. It's a really fun driving experience, and it's a car that really highlights just how fun Gran Turismo 7 can be when you're on the right track with the right car. So overall, the cars from update 1.29 are here. Those are my first impressions. Will these change over time? They could do. Now, in terms of the the general opinion on these cars, a lot of people are complaining, saying yes, we need more modern cars. But if you just take a step back and actually just enjoy the cars for what they are, I can honestly say that these are some of the most fun drivers' cars within the actual game. Whilst yes, some are ridiculous, like the Ital design, it does seem that they do have builds for them. So there's a lot of tuning potential here. There's a lot of fun to be had, and I definitely feel like I'm going to enjoy these for at least a few weeks. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all in the next one. Have a fantastic day. Peace.